Do the pledge and all that, right? I mean, this is a real board meeting, so let's do the pledge, and Brad knows it.
Sure. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, good. We're right up against the windows, and therefore we're expecting a big crowd tonight. But I think we're probably okay. So we'll.
Did we forget to announce this meeting?
It is
People
July.
are on vacation.
We do have some items to get to, and
First, I'd like to move the appointment of Emily as clerk pro temp.
Second.
And I think for a indefinite period of time, not just for this meeting. Just
do we want to put a limit on that indefinite period of time for Emily's sake, or?
So the appointment of a clerk.
Okay. Well,
Can the minutes reflect that?
did I get a second?
Second.
Oh, second by Maura. Emily doesn't get a vote, so all in favor? That is everyone, and thank you, Emily and Casey as well for helping us out.
Yes, thank you.
There's a variety of items that we'll get to, but a lot of it is business that we're trying to take care of as we hit middle of summer and getting people hired, etc. So I assume there's modifications to the agenda. If not, are we good? No modifications, right? All right, fine. Public comment, Bob, anything other than non-hustling professional baseball players that we all know so well?
Better leave Sanchez alone, man.
No student reps. Board, do you need to talk about anything before we do the consent? Board responses, we're all good. It's raining finally, so grass, we're gonna start mowing grass again. It's all good. Consent agenda. So there are some items.
We'll move the consent as presented.
Second.
Second by Pat. So items to speak to. Questions. John.
We've had this conversation before, but one of our votes is on the resolution for a bid for compostable trays, and I continue to wonder if there's ever a process for us to consider local businesses that put in bids against national corporations. And I understand that we're legally mandated to go by the lowest bidder, but it's always just an interesting thing for me that we may have locally owned businesses within our community. And
They did bid.
They did, I understand, but weren't going to be selected. So I'm always just interested in if we can keep that in. I don't know what to do about that. I just wanted to make a comment about that.
Are there ways to get around it?
Yeah, I know there isn't. It's a tough thing that we're going to be giving this money, and we got to give it to a national corporation. That's all.
Who won the bid?
Cisco.
Cisco over.
B&W.
Right.
And there was one other. And the other and actually I haven't seen the most recent consent agenda. There was also a conversation about the construction contract. This is for the concrete up by Cuba Heights.
That's where most of the work's being done.
Right, I saw that. It's not on here. Right.
It's concrete. There's also going to be a new pump. They've flooded twice recently. So there's going to be I believe it's an additional pump. Do you remember? There is one there now.
It's either a replacement or an addition. Because it's
Yeah, but more
insufficient.
volume because it has flooded a couple times recently. I think one of the things we'll be having to deal with the next bond is moving the stormwater at Cuba Heights. Something has changed there,
Right.
and there's a lot more stormwater coming at the school building.
Yeah. Assuming this is all discussed in facilities meeting that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
and it's under budget.
Right, and I'm not, well, along those lines, I'm not, there's the trays. There was, paid school taxes. What about, there was paving? What about the paving?
There's some paving there too.
That was a part of it?
Yeah.
I'm, again, not saying it. Okay, so that all made it in.
All made it in.
So they can pave before the plant's closed?
Well, yeah, well, hopefully before the cars park there in September.
Okay, good, all right, thanks.
And this is, the low bidder was that at Jurt Enterprises, and they've done a number of these summer projects for us.
Exactly, they're
They
from
may
that.
be paving the driveway on the 30th of August, but they get it done.
No, they've been a contractor.
Oh, they've done a good job.
Right.
But they
Okay.
do sometimes pave on about the last day before school starts.
It's fresh.
It is.
Any other questions regarding the consent? You good with it? So Pat, you're good? We're all good? All right. All in favor? That's not quite everyone. That's Rob, Moira,
Brad, Pat,
there is
and
Chris, right.
Chris.
So I had to go down. Those opposed, those abstaining, that would be shown. All right. I actually have to list everyone, which is taxing my brain. So good, all right, so just the work session, work sessions are listed, so we don't have to spend a lot of time, but does everybody know where they're assigned? I guess is, and Ann, I didn't legislative
Yeah, we
advocacy
actually
meet
met
today?
today. We did. We're going to be trying to set up a meeting with Barbara Lifton and with Senator O'Mara to keep working on the health insurance reserve funds. So that is what our focus continues to be, and try to pick up where we last left off, since the Senate did not really do anything at the very end. They just kind of petered out, and
Right.
so now we keep going. So that's where we're at.
Okay, I got tired. Facilities, Brad, certainly finance facilities.
So we've had, as you know, facilities and finance are going to meet together this year, or at least in succession on the same night. We did have a meeting. Quite a bit of conversation on the facilities side as we move ahead with another construction-related project that we hope to take to the voters come May. So that process is underway. I actually did attend one of the sessions with the staff. Amanda, you're hosting 3 of those, I think? Yeah, she's hosting 3 to allow building leaders, teachers, anybody who wants to come. And staff-wise, there was a custodian from one of the buildings, which was nice. At the meeting, we spent a whole morning discussing different items. Each building had a chance to talk among themselves as to what they were thinking. And our Tetra Tech is aggregating that information. We'll aggregate the information for the next 2 sessions and begin to put together a plan. As you know, some of what's going to be there is going to be from the building condition survey, from a maintenance standpoint. Some of the items will be in that regard. It would appear, given the conversations so far, that the entrances and changing some of the entrances is going to be first on most people's lists. And so that'll probably be first on our list to move ahead with, and we'll be looking to do that summer of 2020, right? If we can just move it ahead, we would look to do a number of entrances the summer of 2020. So look for more of that coming. And as you know, this summer, the Smart Bomb project is moving ahead. And that's going to be the card swipe locks on the doors. It is not going to get finished this summer, as you'll recall. Our friends at the state, having taken 2 years to approve it, didn't approve it until the 15th of June. Kind of hard to get a contractor underway 10 days after that when we had just gotten the approval. So it's going to be into the fall. My recollection is the plan is by Thanksgiving break to have everything done in all the buildings. So unfortunately, it wasn't approved by the state in time to do all the work this summer. They'll be working second shift in the autumn in different buildings so that they're not interfering with school. But they will be working during the days here in the summer to get some of it done once they get underway. So you will see that, and people will, yes, they will have to get new passes. They will actually have to use it to get into their building. That will be a change going forward.
Is what buildings is there an order determined already about it?
There was. Amanda, remind me what the first buildings were.
High school?
The high school, yeah.
Yeah, so that'll take the longest time.
And it's got the most doors. It's
Oh, yes.
138 or something crazy like that.
190.
They're 190. Yeah, it's crazy. There's a lot of doors.
That's so
So that went first, and then they'll
Wow.
move to the other buildings.
And then I think also the rural elementaries, right, because it's longer for response time to go there. So I know that Carolina and Enfield are close up to the top
Yep.
because they're not in the city center.
So they'll be out there. And again, those two buildings are single story. Many of the classrooms have doors to the outside. It'd be good to have electronic locks on those and alarms if they're opened, so that you'll know. So that's underway. Finance side, continuing conversations on the budget, laying out our schedule for the year. As you know, budgeting goes all year long. We laid out our schedule for having the various departments and sections come in and talk during the year so we can see where they're headed budget-wise. We've laid that out for the year going forward. Continuing conversation about health insurance. As you know, we went self-insured a year ago now. That's gone well, but it's got new issues, not issues, new conversations as we learn how it all works. But it is, hopefully bending the cost curve on health insurance.
And Fred, just for everyone's sake, all the bids were awarded for the Smart Pond.
Yes.
You know,
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's under.
Right. It didn't run over budget. I mean,
Nope.
the original estimate. So can we do what we
Yes. The answer is
estimated
yes.
to do?
Back
Is
where
yes, right.
Yep.
Even though it's been 2 years, right?
Even though it's been 2 years.
Right.
Yeah.
So good. All right.
As you know, a lot of electronic equipment continues to decrease in cost. So
Become more
balance
efficient.
out,
Right.
Labor
Yeah.
costs up a little bit,
Right.
equipment costs down a touch.
Okay, good. HR, we approved a lot of personnel items today.
We did. We wrapped up in June all of the tenure reviews. We are really focused on moving forward, basically the hiring process, recruitment, and the overall HR practices between our HR central office, our staff, just, one as a provider and a service, and what that looks like, and also just our hiring experience with teachers applying to our school district, really trying to understand how we can best improve that to make that the best, most streamlined but effective process possible. And everything in between. So as you can expect, we touch a lot of bases that affect a lot of people within the school district. What does that look like? Our initial lofty goal beginning it's last September was to streamline, eliminate, and get rid of redundancies. We were pretty lofty. I don't think we got there, but I do think that should be a continued focus. Because we have a lot of opportunities. We do have some antiquated practices that I think we can let go of. So as we get to better understand what we do, how we do it, and how we can do it better, as far as affecting our people and how they're experienced it from an HR perspective. Maura or Pat, would you guys like to add anything else?
I'm not on HR this
sorry.
year,
Nicole. Oh.
and I'm gonna miss you guys.
Pat, you've always been on HR.
I know. I can't explain it because I'm neither the chair nor the vice chair. But I'm very happy with my new assignment.
I feel like I lost to policy.
Well,
Well, no, actually, I am happy to welcome Pat to curriculum. So, which is, we're segueing to curriculum. I'm staying on HR and I'm staying on policy. And then curriculum. We have not had a curriculum meeting in a while, but I did have a delightful meeting with Lily Talcott this morning to talk about, just to kind of review the things that we've been focusing on, where we are, and to talk about as we move forward at the next meeting, looking back at where we are with some of the things that we've been working on for a while. The inclusion plan, the mental health curriculum, the anti-marginalization curriculum, just to name 3. And then the committee, as it's now constituted, will have to make some decisions about how we want to focus moving forward. And also I will send an email out because we have to figure out about our meeting time and what will actually work. So there is a meeting scheduled for August 7th at 4 o'clock, but I think that is going to change. So.
Are you going to be able to stay on Tuesdays?
Yes, we will stay on Tuesdays.
Good.
But we may shift to the other Tuesday.
So we appreciate that.
Yeah.
I feel that curriculum is gonna be the hip happening place to be this year.
It's because you're, yeah.
I sense that there are big things coming in.
Gonna surpass policy.
In the,
Well, no, but maybe it'll surpass HR.
Hey.
in the board officer's defense, in the board officer's defense, there was we only have one Pat. And so there's, you can't, what can we do? But, right, so we appreciate Pat serving on curriculum. And when work sessions do get together, you do need to choose a chair and all that. For those who have not met yet, eventually you all get together and do that. And policy, John, here.
Well, I should remind folks that according to our policy on committees, that each committee each year should vote on its charge above and beyond its chair. You can still replicate the charge from previous years, but the idea is that we are still constantly trying to think about why we're having committees and what we're trying to accomplish.
There you go.
I'll send that out to folks.
Oh, you don't mean send you a bill?
Yeah. That's right.
Spoken like a true policy wonk.
That's right. So an update on policy. I said this at the last policy committee. I'm so glad we have a very large audience here to witness this. We are actually nearing, we can somewhat see the end of the policy book for a first go round. I probably have just jinxed it, but that's the idea. I sent Brad and Rob and Jay True, who was our last chair of the audit committee, a listing of all the audit policies that were referenced also in our last year's audit that need to be reviewed, thinking that the audit committee and the finance committee would probably be the best place to take the first draft at those policies. And so I'm sure Brad, Amanda, Rob, Jay, and I will have a conversation about what those look like. That would then give us to the 8,000 and 9,000 series, which isn't the longest series that we have. I think I counted 34 policies, like I said, that need to be reviewed, which is pretty amazing and exciting. With that being said, I'm also getting out ahead of myself. We spent our last policy committee meeting the entire hour and 45 minutes reviewing a draft of the Code of Conduct. We got about halfway through that draft of the Code of Conduct. We will either use our next policy meeting on August 7th, or we'll try to find an additional time to review the second half of the Code of Conduct and hopefully have us somewhat in position to be ready for the start of the school year. We will not be ready to have these printed and sent out to families. We'll have to have what the conversation that means. But we've had some really in-depth and good conversations about the code of conduct and what does it mean for our district in terms of practices, in terms of policy. And so we'll be continuing that. I don't know if any of my policy comrades have anything to add to that so far. Pat or Maura?
I'm gonna work on formatting lists.
I'm good for now, thanks.
I'm sure it was a great delight to both Emily and Casey, excuse me,
Casey.
Tracy, right? Casey, excuse me, that we spent an 85-degree sunny day having a debate about whether we were going to use the Oxford comma, right? Where we go and how we were going to format lists. And Moira has a great idea of and some great research about list formatting and whether we should use numbers, when we should not use numbers, when we should use bullets, when we should use semicolons, when we should periods. We do all of the above and none of it in any particular order, and we're going to finally get some order around it for the
I'm
next
so
little
sorry
bit.
I missed that.
I'll add
Yeah.
that I had some community discussion about our policy committee adoption of the use of the Oxford comma,
Yes.
and people were unanimously in favor of it and glad that we've taken this position. One of them made the remark, let me get this right, the Oxford comma almost always supplies clarity and almost never does harm.
Well, there you have
And we also learned at the last meeting, a couple bits of my research on the difference between toward and towards.
it. We did.
We did.
Very good.
Wow.
It's divided by the Atlantic Ocean.
Divided by the
British
Atlantic
English
Ocean.
versus American English, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yep.
Yes, we were doing some good. So beyond our policy, we were doing some really good language work.
So just like the White House.
That's
Isn't there an American comma? I mean, come on.
It's the Oxford.
And
It was
I
an appeals
think,
court decision
and I
that
think,
hinged on the Oxford comma last year.
there probably was, right?
Yeah, no, there was.
It's missing a.
Yeah.
It does change the context.
I think Ann had something to
I
add.
do, is not about the comma though, but just before we left committees, I just wanted to do a little update on the early childhood education committee, because we're really not on that list, and thinking that maybe next time we should maybe do an update, but that pretty soon, maybe hopefully the next meeting, we'll do a little bit more of a presentation so that we can reauthorize the early childhood committee for next, for this upcoming year.
We did have a conversation about that. I forgot it was. Yes. We were-
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
but we're working on that, so
Yes.
it's been a lot
Still
of,
considered
a lot of really interesting.
An advisory committee.
an advisory ad hoc,
Yeah.
Yeah.
whatever that means. Okay, so yeah,
So expect that on our next agenda, and we'll follow
That's
up
right.
with what the charge would be, and we'll vote on it as a board.
Right.
Great.
well, great, thanks. Excellent. Dr. Brown,
Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Chairman.
yeah, after all that, here you go.
Just one brief update for the community. I think this tweet says it all. It's a tweet from the downtown Ithaca. It says, while you're in Ithaca this weekend, make sure you check out the independently owned operated shops and restaurants here for you to enjoy. This was in response to me promoting our upcoming conference this next Monday and Tuesday. We're going to have about 400 folks from all over our state here in Ithaca to talk about diversity and inclusivity. We're 70, I'll turn this on, I have a slide that shows the districts that are represented. About 70 different school districts and organizations will be here, sending folks to be a part of this first time ever conversation. So we're really excited about it, and that's not going to come on now, but on Monday I will show an image that it's rather overwhelming to see the list of names of folks who are going to be here next week. So I'm hoping that as many board members who are in town can show up as we kick off early Monday morning at 10 a.m., I believe. That's my one update. Thank you.
All good, Dr. Brown. And one item for school district business, summer instructional projects update. And I believe our deputy superintendent will
Hi, everybody.
speak to us.
Good to see everybody.
See,
All right. So you may think things slow down in the summer, and although they do to an extent, we're still doing quite a bit this summer in terms of learning, both for staff, which I'll talk about first, and also for our students. We've got some new programs that we're trying out this year as well. It's exciting. So thinking about our 3 key levers, right? This year, we developed 35 plus different workshops just here at the Ithaca City School District for staff in all of our bargaining units, so our teachers, our education support professionals, our clerical and custodial staff, et cetera. So it's really administrators, so everyone's invited to do this. And we have 26 in-district employees who are leading these 35 plus workshops. This is in addition to some of our workshops, of course, that we contract through BOCEs and we're attending as well. And we also have 7 outside instructors. So here are just some highlights of some of the professional learning opportunities that our staff are participating in this summer. So in terms of teaching and learning innovations, our lesson design days, I really want to highlight those. So we have 3 different sessions of lesson design days that groups of teachers have submitted proposals to participate in. So it's a 2-day seminar and work session for teams to come together and plan. At the beginning of each of these days, we do some facilitated learning. So we're really focusing heavily on our project-based learning approach in these days and our CS for All principles, which I know you all know quite a bit about, given that presentation earlier in the spring. And then teachers get to work. So they're designing units, they're designing individual lessons. It's everything from, in the past we've had folks working to create honors and regents classes. We have some this year where our special education teachers are working with our English teachers to figure out how to co-teach. They found out they're going to be co-teaching together this year, so they're planning what some of their differentiated units are going to be at the high school, etc. You can see in our culturally responsive practices category, our lever, we have our anti-marginalization design team. I've listed that first, that's exciting. We have about 20 educators who have applied for and signed up to participate in this design team. And we are, Mary Grover, who's our inclusion officer, and I have been working closely in addition to working with Heather Hill from college. And next Friday we're going to be kicking this off. We're focusing in on understanding identity and also understanding racism and anti-racism, in addition to other forms of oppression. We're asking folks to bring units that they've already created, and we're going to weave within the fabric of these units those concepts, right? Those anti-marginalization or anti-oppression concepts. So this is going to be a two-day institute, and we're starting this, August 3rd. And then this work is actually going to carry out throughout the school year. So this is our kickoff. We're providing some learning beforehand, so some homework, some videos, the implicit bias test that Harvard provides as well. So we're going to have them do some reflecting and some writing beforehand when they come. And then as they work throughout the school year, they're going to continue to develop their own curriculum and practices with their students. And we envision and hope that they will begin to spread this work throughout their school communities as well. In terms of inclusion, we have an exciting new opportunity that's coming up. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with the concept of oracy. It's this idea of moving from more teacher talk, which is what I'm doing right now, to more student talk. helping kids really engage in meaningful conversation, giving them the tools and strategies to say, Mr. Ainsley, I agree with that point, however, I would like to add this, right? And allowing them to really practice with that. It's a strategy that's used more and more for our English language learners, and it supports all of our learners, I feel like, throughout our community. So I'll pause there for some questions, and then if you have any, and then we can go on to our student learning projects.
Well, this is not so much of a question because I know the answer, but I think it's important that other people know this. So the lesson design days, for folks to participate in that, they have to come as a team.
Yes.
They have to have submitted a plan for what they as a team want to work on during those design days.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's gone through an approval process. People have received some feedback. You know, if you're one person, we need you to get more people here.
Right. Right.
We have asked people to make some shifts to their plans, as well to either make it more project-based or, yeah.
So what kind of participation are you, how many teachers are joining you?
You know, I should have pulled those numbers, but it's changing every day.
Okay.
People are still signing up for things.
But just like a ballpark, and is it both elementary, middle school, and like how are you breaking it down between the different?
Do you mean just for lesson design days?
Yeah, that, and just some of these other ones, are you kind of breaking it down between, different school buildings or just?
I would say after the summer, I'd be happy to pull all those numbers for you, and I can give you a report. We've really worked, in my transition into this role, it was clear in my communications with folks that they really worked to make sure that there were secondary options very clearly spelled out, particularly in terms of project-based learning, given that we've done so much with our case study or project-based learning approach for elementary for years. So it seemed to make sense to really put some more effort. So you'll see PBL 101 and PBL 102 secondary. So there's middle school and the New York State Science Learning Standards. So we're trying to add some additional really targeted things for middle school folks. So I will point to that.
But engineering in elementary classrooms is going to be focused on.
Correct.
Right. So there are, some of the items certainly are focused on middle school and elementary then, right?
Right. Whereas something like confronting bias in the workplace, that's frankly everyone throughout our whole community can participate in that.
There are 108 people signed up for lesson design days.
Thanks for
Just saying.
Thanks, Laura.
Can you just tell us a tiny bit about engineering in elementary classrooms?
Yes. So for this past school year, Jen Wilkie, who is our teacher on special assignment for STEM, and Paula Kiltz, fourth grade teacher at Northeast, each month they have been researching and sending out a STEM challenge, a science, technology, engineering, mathematical challenge to all of our teachers to try with their kids, kindergarten through 5th grade. One of them was build the tallest tower you can out of newspaper and 3 feet of masking tape, right, in a team within a set period of time. What kind of plan are you going to come up with? How are you going to work together? How are you going to make sure that it doesn't fall over? What are you going to do when you experience setbacks? How will you redesign? So those, that's the idea behind engineering in elementary classrooms. And so the focus there is going to be trying some of those things out and allowing people time to design their own STEM challenges.
Well, it's nice to push that out across the district. We know we had a presentation from Caroline. They were designing bridges for Ryan, and so they just did design and development for those bridges and had models. And so it'd be great that all the kids in elementary school have that opportunity. So that's great.
beyond second grade.
Exactly.
Well, they looked like they were ready for graduate school.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I'm gonna transition into some student learning.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so we have 390 students participating in a multitude of summer programs. I'd really like to take this time to highlight our Project Innovation program, which is new this year thanks to your support and the great thinking of many of our ICSD educators. We have an integrated kindergarten through 8th grade, and by integrated I mean fully inclusive. We have students with 12-month and 10-month IEPs, students who are English language learners, students with some academic need to not much academic need, all learning together in one space at that Belsham. But what's different, we used to contract through BOCES for this. We used to call it Summer Academy. What's different about this approach is we're housing it here. It's our folks, and it is project-based. So that means we still need to meet our kiddos' IEPs. So for our first hour or so, let's see, Emily, would you mind transitioning to that next? So our first hour or so, we have a resource room time for our students who have individualized education plans, who need that time. And even that, as much as possible, they're trying to make project-based. So this class is working on measurement and measuring to the nearest inch. So they are going on a measurement walk throughout the school. So even though it's a resource room time that you might think of as traditionally school and drill, you're trying to innovate, as the name of the program implies, to allow kids greater choice, more movement, making it more interesting for them. Would you mind transitioning? Thank you. This is a combined class, so our classes are not strictly second grade or strictly third grade. They could be slightly banded, so I believe this is a first, second banded class. And they are working on a project. This in the next slide illustrate some discussions and learning that they're having about friendship. What is friendship? How do you establish friends and friendships, and how do you maintain friendships, and how do you include kids who may not traditionally be included? So they're working on a project right now. You can see the next slide as well. And their final project this summer is going to be making a friendship bench, which will be going outside. That will be a place where kids can sit and invite others to come sit with them. So that's the idea that they've come up with, given this. Of course, they're also doing academics, right? They're reading books, they're writing about this, they're creating proposals for their benches, etc. Let's see, one more slide. There's, again, a combined class. They started out this summer, their teachers said, at summer school, we're not going to do recess. Of course, this was planned. This was a launch for the students to get engaged. They said, what? No. I said, okay, well, let's figure this out. And the students began to research the benefits of recess. They were citing evidence in letters to Kristen Herman, who's our fabulous principal of Project Innovation, and to their teachers as well. They got the okay, and they began to design games that students throughout the school can use to play that serve as brain breaks, that serve the same purpose as recess, that either you can do inside or you can do outside. So again, they were researching some of these games that would give them the most benefit and then implementing them. I don't have a slide to illustrate this last one, but our middle schoolers have decided as their final project, we're halfway through, they're creating a team festival. They're inviting bands, and they are really excited about engaging other teens together in time to really just creating a time for teens to come together in a safe place and to enjoy each other's company in a positive way. So they've done an amazing amount of work already, and are planning this for, I believe, August 9th for Stewart Park. So they're going to be having a festival, come one, come all. And if you're there around 11 o'clock, it seems like that's around the perfect time to do it. In addition to these, of course, we have our other meaningful student learning experiences. We have our Farm to Table program, our preschool summer school, our high school summer school, and our BOE summer school as well. That's also, they're all also serving our children as well.
Lily, how are students selected or invited to this program, since you said there's a variety of needs, including from very little need to different types of needs? So how were these classes composed?
That's a great question. There was a list of criteria that folks sent out that Liddy and others had designed, and so the last few months of our school year, principals and classroom teachers worked together to identify kids that might be a good fit based on that criteria. We were looking for, again, a large range of students in order to make it as inclusive as possible. And there were also a number of families whose kiddos have extended school year on their IEP, who have had the option, they've had one choice, which was to go to BOCES. And now we were able to offer them two true choices. They're included all during the school year, right? And so to have that opportunity was pretty powerful. And we noticed that a lot of families selected Project Innovation, where their children could be with other ICSD students and students with and without IEPs.
And how are you planning to measure benefits, effectiveness?
Yeah, Kristen has just put together a mid-summer evaluation, and then we will again revisit at the end. Before the summer school began, she made sure that all of the teachers and the ESPs, or education support professionals, speech language pathologists, occupational therapists, were familiar with their caseloads and their students' IEP goals. All of our special education teachers had prioritized goals within those IEPs and really said, okay, over the 6-week period, you're really going to want to focus in on this one and this one, right? So that allows teachers to really track data in relation to those in a really targeted way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I have just a question about the multi-age classrooms, because that sounds really interesting to me. And so I just want to hear a little bit more about that and whether that's something you could imagine applying during the school year, or is this just something that is a summer school thing?
For right now, I would say it's probably just a summer school thing. I think it occasionally comes up in relationship to numbers, right?
We've had multi-age before.
Yeah, we've had it before, but it's happened in pockets, I would say.
Yeah.
We have it currently as well.
We do?
We do.
LACS is multi-age.
Oh, that's true.
We have 9th graders in class with seniors.
Yeah,
that
right.
have
But
grade.
Sure,
yeah,
at the middle school and high school as well.
Right, they do the middle school and high school.
would it ever be something that you would do proactively because it was like a successful strategy, especially I'm thinking like little, the younger, like kindergarten, first grade, kind of age group? I mean, would there ever be a time when that would be something, you know, because it seems like in summer school you have only so many kids, right? So maybe it lends that way. But whether we're
Yes.
more intentional?
The answer is yes. The only thing holding us back right now is our culture. And if we were to come out and say this, we want to do this, research supports it, it may cause parents and families to pause. So as we evolve, hopefully the culture will support us doing something that we know can benefit many people.
Well, doesn't the research show it benefits the younger students, but not necessarily the older students?
Well, research says all kind of things, but what I've read, it says it supports all young people. Young and older.
Well, perhaps the curriculum committee will have to look at that.
Yeah, maybe.
Full disclosure, I was in a multi-age classroom in this district quite a few years ago. Combined second and third grade in a one-room schoolhouse.
Older or you were young?
I was a second grader. It was split up, one teacher, second grade and third grade, and so we had kind of some stuff, and so we'd be working on it. That then she'd be teaching, Mrs. Robinson. She'd be teaching third grade, and so it was great. You could listen to the third grade curriculum, which is great because kind of doing second grade, but then the third grade stuff's going on, and so been there, done that. Never looked back, right? It was just anyway. But it's so it's not bad. And yes, it was a real one-room schoolhouse. It's across from the professional building, 8th school. It's at the bottom of our road. So still standing. Anyway, so it's not that new, but it was a neat space, and baby boomers, and Glenwood was being built, so another elementary school was being built, and there was just you had to put these kids somewhere. So, but it was not a bad thing. And we did stuff together as well. Right.
So I'm interested.
On to other things.
I'm interested in each of these other items. Well, who's participating? So the 110 students in farm to table, are they at multiple sites?
Yes.
Where are the sites?
So BJM is at Bell Sherman this year.
Okay.
Because BJM is getting painted by our fabulous paint crew. And there's Bell Sherman, Enfield, and Caroline as well.
Okay.
So those are at their home schools, and that's run by Lori Paddington, and that's through a grant.
That started last year, correct?
Yeah. And
go ahead.
How do kids get into this program? Are they particularly invited, or was it open to all, or?
It's open to, rising second and third graders, I believe, right? And we invite anyone who will join from those schools, yeah.
Okay. And then the pre-K summer school.
That's an integrated program as well.
So
that's our special class integrated setting, or SKIS class. And that's preschoolers. Those are preschoolers who have individualized education plans and those who do not. So the ratio that the state requires is 6-6 with an occasional variance. And those students have extended school year, or ESY, on their IEPs. And then the others are entered through application and then lottery system.
Okay. Okay. And then, so the high school summer school, which is where is that located?
It's at BOCES.
At BOCES.
And so that's a regional summer school.
Right, the regional summer school. And it is primarily students who are repeating courses?
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the BOCES summer school.
Those are our students who are going to the Smith School.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So again, they're students who have extended school year on their IEPs.
And one thing I'm curious about is 8th graders who are rising to the high school who have been less than entirely successful, shall we say. 8th graders who have failed courses. what's available for them
Yeah.
to try to address their deficits and before they land at the high school, having not been successful.
Right now,
Yeah.
Project Innovation is attempting to
Okay.
help fill that gap.
Yeah,
But
okay.
I think you bring up an important point and something that we might want to look a little bit more closely at.
Yeah.
And this is the first year we've had a middle school or eighth grade
Right.
support structure.
Right.
So we hope to evolve and do more.
Yeah.
It's not the first time we've talked about the transitions
Yeah.
between elementary and middle and high school.
Sure.
We've
Right.
talked about transitions in the past. It'd be great if
Yeah.
Built more.
there was something more built in.
Yeah.
Are you supporting students with IEPs in the farm to table?
Not through extended school year, right? So they wouldn't have
Okay.
extended school year on their IEPs unless they're caregivers, decline service. I don't know the numbers, but I'm sure there are kiddos who have, speech or occupational therapy or may have some
So it
individual.
was open today.
Yeah, it's open, yeah.
And certainly last year, there was an effort to bring a very diverse group of kids in and targeted, trying to, and they really thought the word of mouth was going to be drive demand for farm to table. Not sure whether 110 is the max, but certainly quite a few.
It's pretty impressive.
It's quite a lot.
And is the Wilderness Academy at Caroline going on this summer too? Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I believe so, and I'm sorry, I'm
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna chalk it up to 3 weeks and 2 days.
I know, I get it.
I just remind the community and the board, we were operating on a very bare bones budget for summer programming about 4 years ago. We had those major
Right.
cuts. We went all the way down to pretty much nothing in the summer. So
Right.
this represents a significant building of backup of our programming and our options, thanks to your support.
Sean, go ahead, Sean.
Two questions. One, I also know that we've had a number of organizations, both locally and regionally, reach out to have our students participate in summer programs, be it the Suzuki School up at Ithaca College or the STEM School. I don't know if we're keeping track of any of those numbers of our students participating in some of these regional experiences as well. Do we have any
I
data?
have those numbers and I can share more at the next superintendent's update. We have some young people who are having an outstanding experience at Ithaca College.
There's some students there as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
So it'd be helpful for us to know.
Yeah.
I'll
Keep track.
update that.
And having been a teacher in this district for 7 years and have many of my colleagues and friends who are teachers, I'm very much aware of the significant amount of work and time and energy that our teachers put in. With that being said, sometimes we're always focused on students who do not pass classes without doing some investigation if we're having some difficulty with particular staff who may have particular types of students who don't pass classes. And so I'm wondering if we're doing any research either in-house about what some of our data looks like about what students don't pass which classes, and maybe we need to do some professional development for some of our faculty. That's probably the best way to say it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Other questions, comments? Anything else, Lily?
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you for your 3 weeks and 2 days, and more to come. Other discussion items, anything for the good of the group? Other announcements, Dr. Brown, for the inclusion conference suggested there's a few opportunities for us to show up and
The morning keynote, 10:30 on, 10 a.m. on
Essentially
Monday.
10 on Monday.
Myself and Dr. Roberts will open, and then Shiraki Holly will be back. And Shiraki's going to do the keynote. We're all excited about that. Day 2 is a good day to stop in as well. Mid-morning, we break into work groups, and each school district will be in a separate space in our facility, working on work plans, action steps to combat these issues that we've been facing. So we're really excited about that. They're all working from a common format, which would be a doctor from Lynn Vanderburg's work with our community. The questions she asks, the way she facilitates, we're going to use that and try and do it at scale for 400 people. So it should be fun.
And so do you have an idea of how many of our teachers are
Yeah,
attending
Laura, what
this?
number are we at now?
There are about 70 people from ICSD attending.
Okay.
So that's a variety of teachers, a few educational support professionals, and administrators.
Excellent.
Should be fun.
Anything else? We're good? There is a calendar for, is there a calendar for
That's all
August?
passed.
Yeah, I'm not saying, so everybody has a sort of an idea when we're meeting in August, you know, that will get out to our calendars, right? So we'll see what's coming out. Okay, good. Are we good? Anything else? It's summer night, muggy summer night, and time to go home, I think. Without objection, we are adjourned.
Yeah.
Thank you, Emily and Casey.
Get on to the-